Hello everybody, my name is the Unknown Reviewer. Welcome to the vid. I have finally seen Naked Gun, starring Liam Neeson as Frank Drebin Jr., who's doing a case that has an itch that won't go away when he's trying to figure out what happened to this victim and who is behind this murder. And that's pretty much the main premise of the movie. I will not be, giving anything away, but I saw the trailer for Naked Gun, and I was a little underwhelmed. I'm a huge fan of the first three Naked Gun movies. I only saw the original, and coming into this, I watched 2 and 3 for the first time. And I thought the movies were actually pretty good. The sequels were good. I think it honestly could be a perfect trilogy with not one bad movie, but with some flaws. But they are parody movies. I love parody movies. I love Scary Movie. I love Spaceballs. And I like Naked Gun because it parodies cop movies. And yes, a legacy sequel. They are now bringing back parody movies. Next year we're getting Scary Movie 6. 2027 we're getting. And so with this, it's like, okay, how are they going to do this? Is this going to be a good legacy sequel? How are you going to parody this? And guys, the trailers, if you had no interest in seeing this movie because the trailers, Paramount did terrible marketing for this movie. They did not know how to do the trailers justice because the trailers, all the jokes are like some of the worst jokes in the movie. They put in those trailers. Dude, this movie was freaking awesome. Not only did I have fun with this movie and walked out really liking it, you guys must know, comedy is my favorite genre. I always love watching comedies, and that's probably why I like the parody movies so much. It's because they're so stupid, they're so fun, they're just movies that just, you have your complaints with these types of movies that they're parodying, and you just laugh hysterically. And with this, it's like, okay, how are you going to do this? How are you going to pay respects to the original? How are you going to try and make something new? Is this going to be another redundant legacy sequel? It's not, guys. It's perfect. This is not only the funniest movie of the year, but the best legacy sequel. Probably a top 5 legacy sequel of all time. No joke. I mean that with full honesty. This movie is so freaking good with its humor. And let me just get into the things I loved about this movie. The first thing I was really hesitant about was Liam Neeson, because Liam Neeson is probably one of my favorite actors. But when you pair him up as a comedy actor, I can't even think of him being in a comedy. I guess if you count Ted, but we always know him as the "I will find you and I will kill you" kind of guy. So you don't expect him to be this funny person. So we don't expect him to be like Leslie Nielsen, who I learned recently that he passed away about, when did he pass away? Like a few years ago? I was kind of heartbroken, man. He was one of those actors where I kind of wanted to shed a tear because I actually really liked his movies because of how funny he was. And so when when I was like, oh man, Liam Neeson might not be him. He might not be him at this. He might just be another just not funny guy with this. And dude, he nailed it. Not only was he so freaking funny, but he was so stupid, and he had the charisma and charm that made Leslie Nielsen so perfect in that role. You could argue with me that you thought he was better than Leslie Nielsen, and I would not have a problem with you. I think that Leslie Nielsen, because he's the original, but Liam Neeson is so funny with the jokes he gets, all the funny coffee gags, the potty gag, there's so many gags and jokes that he makes, and it's so freaking hilarious. And also, too, think about this, though. You have that soft, aggressive tone voice he can do. Pair it with comedy. Perfect blend. I know, again, trailers did this movie terrible. Liam Nielsen actually does really well. The next thing I really liked about this movie is also the side characters. I liked Pamela Anderson, who plays Beth. She is the sister of one of the victims of the case that Trevor is working on. and so she's kind of like the love interest that he has, and her and Liam Nielsen's dynamic together was pretty romantical, and actually like you cared for them because his wife died a few years, like a couple years ago, so he kind of has something the same without her, and so he was kind of like hesitant to fall in this relationship with her, but they were like a perfect couple, and they were both funny, and you get so many funny jokes with them in the trailers, like on their romantic shit, that literally a snowman gets involved. No joke. And also like Paul Walter Hauser, who kind of is pulling a Pedro Pascal if you really think about it. He was just in Fantastic Four as Mole Man, so it was also kind of cool to see him in this. I kind of wish he did have more to do in this movie because he kind of was just there, but he was like Trevor's best friend. He was the son of one of the original actors, like one of the original cops, so it was also kind of cool to just see them, be the new thing. But I thought he was still funny in what he did, and that whole car scene that he has, and he also pulls another Cobra Kai school fight, if you know what I mean. You'll see it in the third act, if you know what I mean. But there was tons of new characters in this movie that you actually kind of like really enjoyed. I will say the villain. I'll kind of get into my complaints, but I didn't think he was terrible himself. But obviously, the main reason you're here, does the jokes actually land? And yes, they do. About 85% of this movie, I was laugh out loud. And no joke, every 5 seconds there literally was a joke. I don't even know how you can do that in like a script or something like that. And I feel like you can sometimes be lost with like what the joke's going for. But like I'm just laughing, and there was even a couple times where I missed the joke because I was still laughing. And it was just hilarious because Liam Neeson will like say something or do something or just something dumb would happen, and it was just so freaking funny. And then I will say about 50% of the jokes I kind of didn't really laugh at, but I think that's just because some of the jokes just wasn't my humor, because the humor is honestly for everyone, and that's also like what I really think makes this movie shine the most, is how they blend humor. They don't blend Gen Z humor. They in fact do like older humor that my grandma was catching that I didn't even realize, like, which had been around about twice as longer than me. So so some of the jokes, I mean, are kind of like for like people of old, people of middle age, people of like younger audiences, is like not the Gen Z type way, but like just, I think people can appeal with this humor, and that's what makes this movie stand out the most. But listen, also too, this is how you do a legacy sequel. This is how you do a legacy sequel right, Hollywood. Take notes. Not only does this movie do it right by pleasing the newer audiences, but the older audiences, that it actually respects both of them, and it actually kind of does it, that the story is actually newer, and it's not a rehash of the original or the sequels that came before it. It actually is a new story, new plot, new character. Like, it is something new that newer audiences, that if you're a casual audience member who never saw the first three, you do not need to see that. And if you're someone who, like me, who saw all three of them, you're gonna get the references if you see the beaver or the... I just realized that I forgot to put these things in the video. Nice beaver. Okay, I'll turn that off. That's actually a pretty cool cup. Anyway, back to the video. But I also was like thinking like how they try to do this new for a newer audience, a newer place with a new story. And then when you go to like the... But the older audiences will catch the references, because this guy makes a cameo in the movie in one scene. Comment if you know what scene I'm talking about. They also have this cop light appear in the movie, like the original intro from that movie. And it also pays off Leslie Nielsen in such a good way that I almost kind of wanted to tear up because of how they did it well without de-aging or bringing back someone to the dead like most movies do now. It was like respectful, and it's kind of funny, and it kind of make Leslie Nielsen, I think, proud, because it sounds like something he would honestly do. So I kind of respect them for doing that. But I also think that but that is pretty much like the things I liked about this movie. I only have one complaint with that movie. I only have one complaint with this movie, and that's all I got. Again, I will say, this ain't like a nitpick, but I think some people, if you're not the biggest fan of some humor now, I think you can also see like why the movie kind of like 50% of humor may not like land with you as it did with me. But you gotta at least laugh at like one or two jokes. I think you at least laugh at like 5 jokes, because there is no way you didn't laugh through this movie unless you're someone who's depressed or something. I'm sorry, but. But again, that 50% of jokes can also be bad, but I don't think that's my complaint, because I still laughed at like most of the jokes. But my only complaint really is I wasn't the biggest fan of the plot, or like the whole case, or like of like the planning villain or something. And I know it kind of sounds like I have multiple, but it's kind of all into one. The plot, the movie knows it doesn't care about its plot. It knows you're here for just the dumb humor. It knows you're here for the fun. So it kind of doesn't really matter to me about the plot or really the case. But I kind of do wish there's some moments like where we kind of focused in on the case about the victim and like the villain, his like whole motive and like what he's trying to do. It's very generic, and I think that's what the whole point of it is with the newer generation cop movies. So I kind of give it props for that. And I wouldn't say I'm not the biggest fan of the villain, because I actually kind of like the villain in this movie. It's Kevin Durant who plays the villain, and I thought he was actually fine himself. I just wasn't the big fan of like the motive and like him. And honestly, he's kind of like Elon Musk in this movie, if you get what I mean. I'm not trying to like say that politically or anything. But literally, there's like Liam Neeson makes a joke like, "Oh man, with his electronic cars." I'm pretty sure we all know who that's a reference to, because it's referencing like Tesla and stuff like that, which I thought was actually really funny. But that is like my only nitpick I have with this movie. I think that Naked Gun not only is the best comedy of the year, but it's also one of my most surprising films that I had no interest in seeing. I thought I was just going to wait till streaming, and thank goodness I saw this, and I was shocked at how many people are still watching this movie. This movie has a pretty big buck at the box office, and it's not flopping. And 2 weeks later, because the movie's been out for about 2 weeks now, my theater was still packed. Like, there's people clapping at the end, laughing all over the place. Like, it was awesome I was like, there's still people seeing this movie, and I liked that. I thought that was awesome. But there, everybody, is my review on Naked Gun. I would love to hear your thoughts. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe, and tell me your thoughts on this movie. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.